Let's just dive right in. So, for those of you who don't know me, some of you have been here for forever, been coming to my forecast since day one. There's some people who are relatively new. Welcome. It's actually really cool for me. I'm having a moment with myself because I've been doing reels and things on Instagram for since Instagram was invented. And I had my first viral reel a couple of days ago, which is so fun. So I've got a bunch of new subscribers and people in my world. That came in from that. So if that's you, welcome. I'm so happy you're here. My name is Megan Alton. I'm a Canadian girl. I live in British Columbia in a medium-sized town called Kelowna. I used to always say a small town called Kelowna, but Kelowna's massive now. Like it's growing so fast that I don't think I can say it's a small town anymore. It's starting to feel a lot more like a city. um, let's see. I'm a single mom. I've got 3 kids, and my background is that I studied business and economics. I never understood the concept of intuition until I got pregnant with my oldest child, who's now 15. I had no idea what it was. I was very academic, very monetary, very, financial and strategic. And I used to work with these massive spreadsheets of data for the Department of Finance and predict revenue. And then one day I started knowing things that I didn't know where I knew them from. And that's when I went down this path to figure out like what's intuition, what's energy, how do we interpret stuff that we don't have like I didn't read it in a book. Like nobody told me. I just all of a sudden knew something. And I stumbled across numerology and it completely changed my life. So what is numerology, first of all? Numerology is just the language of numbers to interpret energy. Numbers are symbols. So when you understand that numbers are symbols, you can interpret them to figure out what's actually going on. And even people who aren't intuitive use numbers to interpret things, like your accountant and finance people. They're trying to find the story behind the numbers. And so what I'm going to do with you guys today is I'm going to go into what is the story of 2026? What are the energy patterns that we're going to be facing? And not only what are the energy patterns that we're going to be facing, but to me, more importantly, what you can do about it. I can just tell you information and you can be passive to it. Of course, that's completely your choice. But what I get really excited about is when people are like, okay, if this is the, you know, energetic pattern, kind of like the weather forecast, how am I going to work with this energy? How am I going to use it to help me, to help my goals, to help my dreams, to help create what I want? So I often will take like a business money bent to it because I'm also a business coach. And at the end of the day, even people who come to me for numerology readings, I always find there's like 2 or 3 core questions. It's either love, money, or health. I feel like any question anybody ever asks, like about life, those are the 3 things they actually care about: money, love, and health. So, for me, in this situation, we're going to kind of focus in on your personal experiences and how that relates to your purpose, your work, your contribution, and how you can use that to attract more wealth, attract more money, bring in opportunities, that kind of thing. So, before I get started, does anybody have any questions now that I've kind of contextualized what we're gonna, it all boils down to those 3, right? That's all we ever want. Okay. So good. If you have any questions, you're always welcome to pop them in the chat. I'll try to keep an eye on the chat as we go. And just to kind of give you an expectation. So roughly we will be together for about an hour and a half, which puts us at about 11:30 Pacific time. So 90 minutes, an hour and a half from now. And that's my intention. If you don't have, like, if you have questions that don't get answered, reply to one of my emails and ask me because I will respond or I'll do content on it and share the content with you. Because, like I said, there's not that many questions. We all kind of want to know the same handful of things, right? So, in order to figure out where we're going, I think it's always very important to first contextualize where we're at. Okay. So, right now, we're at a really important shifting pivot point. So, numerology runs in cycles of 9. And so, we're completing a 9-year cycle that we started in 2017. Okay. So, there is a lot that happened between 2017 to now. And one of the things I want you to pause and sit with for yourself, maybe to jot a few notes down, is ask yourself, the way I look at this is every 9 years we go through a hero's journey, right? Our own personal hero's journey. We're going to come up against, like, we're going to have a goal, a desire, a dream, an inspiration. We're going to want something. We're going to pursue it. We're going to bump up against all kinds of hardships that are going to seem like they're out of our control or not of our own doing. Some of them might be, some of them might not be. Uh, but those hardships are meant to help you learn something. They gave you a skill or a strength or an asset that you did not have if you didn't go through that hardship. And then you come out the end of 2025 and it's a 9 energy year. So this year has been very much about completion, surrendering, moving beyond old cycles, and kind of closing that chapter so that when we move into 2026, which is a 1 energy, we get a fresh start in a sense. It's not a complete fresh start because we're coming into it with, 30, 40, 50, 60 years of life experience. So we get to bring our experience with us, of course. We're not new anymore. But it is a new cycle beginning. So the question I want to ask you in reflection is, when you look at what you went through from 2017 till now, what are some of the lessons you learned or the skills, strengths, gifts that you developed because of the difficult things you went through? And this might be a bit of a mind twist because we're not used to looking at hardships and thinking like, what did I gain from that? Right? But every difficult moment presents itself with an opportunity, whether it's I learned more compassion, I learned how to budget better because finances were tight, maybe a health challenge, or, you got laid off from your job and it pivoted you into a new opportunity, but you learned resilience, you learned resourcefulness. So I want you to really think about what are some of the things I went through and what was it that I learned from it. And if you feel like sharing in the chat, you're welcome to pop it in. If not, you can keep it to yourself, whatever you're comfortable doing. Yes, you're so welcome, Stephanie. Yeah, thinking back on this cycle. And some people like to do it annually of like, what did I learn in the last 12 months, which I think is great. One of my habits is to scroll through my phone, like my photo reel, and look at all the photos I took in the last 12 months to remind me of what I've done. And then it's like, what did I learn from that? What were the experiences? But like you can also contextualize it in the fact that we're moving through a big cycle. So then now, whatever goals you set for yourself, whatever intentions you have for moving forward, those things that you gained, the strengths, the assets, the skills, they get to come with you. They get to be assets. And this is where sometimes I think people kind of forget. Like we forget that we gained something. We forget and we need to remind ourselves. So I want you to jot down so that you have an active way to remind yourself, like, I learned how to do this. I gained this strength. And it can be like a practical, tangible skill, like I got to be better at budgeting, or it could be, or I became a better cook. It's like, oh, the challenge of grocery prices going up is I learned to cook from scratch. Like that's a skill. That's something that you have now forever, right? Or even if it's something that's more like an intangible one, like I gained a stronger intuition. I gained a stronger sense of compassion and empathy. I have a new lens that I view the world through than I used to have back then because of all the things I've seen in the last 9 years, right? I know. I know. 2017, I have learned so much. I don't even know how to begin, including how numerology can shine a light on all of this, right? It's so true. It's so true. The other thing that when I was really tuning into the energy of the last 9 year cycle, based on my clients, my work, the collective experiences that I've been sort of picking up on, is that many of us went through some spiritual awakenings. If you felt like you had a bit of a spiritual awakening in the last 9 years, comment in the chat and let me know. But when I look at the consciousness of pre-2017, or even from 2017 to 2022, right? Even in that window, the consciousness there versus post-2022, it's dramatically different. I've been teaching people numerology for many years. And when I started teaching people how to feel the energy through the numbers, it would take them 2 months to learn how to feel the energy of numbers. It would take them 2 months. Now I can teach people how to do that in 15, 20 minutes. It's like, it's wild. Like, how? It's so cool. Like, it's really neat to see that tangible experience of it. Okay, everyone's been going through the spiritual awakenings, right? Whether it's your intuition getting cranked up, whether it's a deeper connection with, whatever you believe source and spirit in the universe is, a whole different person. Yeah, and I think that's when my awakening started. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like that was my kind of like my first awakening started with the pregnancy of my eldest. And there was definitely a 2.0 experience that happened between 2017 and 2018 for me that completely shifted the trajectory of my business, professional life, and kind of how I identify myself. And like what I would say, like, I am, right? That's your identity. I am. Who are we? And this, I think, is a really important point now because you've done all this stuff, had all these experiences. And the goal in my mind of this, or the way to kind of crystallize it, is to have it impact your identity. What can you claim about yourself because of that? I am intuitive. I am resourceful. I am resilient. I am whatever those lines are. So start to fill that in for yourself. How will you identify yourself? And the reason I think that this is really important is because we get to choose this. And this, I think, is one of the consciousness shifts that's happened in the last 9-ish years, is recognizing what's been given to me and just going with it versus recognizing like, oh no, I actually get to decide if that's true for me or not. Does anyone notice that? Like, I get to decide if that's true for me or not now, but like before this big shift that's happened in the last 9 years, I think I would have just accepted what was given to me. Like, you are this. Okay, I agree. Where it's like, no, 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 hold on a second. Let me choose. What do I choose that I am? Right? It's the most powerful words. Absolutely. So as we shift into 2026, I'm just gonna like clarify my language a little bit here because I don't want us to get confused. When I say this year, now I'm going to be meaning 2026 because I don't want to have to keep saying 2026 because it's just going to get very repetitive. So this year equals 2026. We're talking about the year we're moving into. We're in this portal energy already. It technically started to kick in October, and we started to move towards it. We could start to feel it coming in. And, in January, we are definitely more in it. But energy is not a light switch, right? It's kind of more like a bell curve. Like, it ebbs in, it peaks, it ebbs out. So I'm going to be talking about when it peaks and what to do with that. But it's the one energy. So there's a few things I want us to keep in mind around one. Number one, because so many people experienced a spiritual awakening of some sort in the last 9 years, it's shifted who and what we feel accountable to. Have you guys felt this like adjustment in the just in general? Like, I even noticed it in my children. And obviously, like, my children, they were very, very young, more than 9 years ago. But when I compare it to the children I knew back then versus the children I know now, the who and what they're accountable to is different. Who and what we are accountable to is different because our consciousness has shifted, and we are starting to recognize more and more what we need to align ourselves with, what we need to like choose for ourselves. Again, it comes down to that choice. And so the question I want you to ask yourself is that who and what am I accountable to? Who and what, like, do I align what's right versus wrong with? Okay. It's kind of this sense of like, what's the authority that governs me? And this is like, I know this is like, you're like, oh gosh, Megan, this is a Thursday morning and you're going a little deep. Or if you're in Europe, it's a Thursday night and you're going a little deep. That's what we do around here. Okay. I mean, we're going into Christmas, we're going into Yule, we're going into the darkest time of the year. So we're going deep with this. So sit with it and take as long as you need to with it. But I do want you to ask yourself that, because so often we are not conscious of what we're accountable to. And we start to think like, I'm accountable to outside forces that I maybe wouldn't have chosen, expectations, societal conditioning, pressures that get put upon me, what, so and so wanted for me, what my teachers told me I was good at when I did the career aptitude test, or what my parents thought I should do because that's what was the ideal career in their days, whatever it is, asking yourself, what am I accountable to? And then asking yourself, what am I going to choose to be accountable to? Like, what, at the end of the day, what do I actually have to live with? And whether you make that a spiritual choice or not, that's a personal decision. But one of the ones I've been loving to play with lately is thinking of being accountable to both to like the little girl version of me, like the 6 year old or the 7 year old little girl version of me, and the 80, 90 year old wise woman in me, right? All of those pieces in me, I can access at any point in time, and I can ask her for advice anytime I want. Like 90-year-old Megan, what would you tell me right now? What would you advise me? What would be important to you? 7 year old Megan, what would you advise me? What would you tell me? What's important to you right now? Right? And really starting to think through, like, am I doing this for me or not? Because the one is the fresh start, the new beginning. So there is this concept of like individuation, right? And while I'm not of the mindset or philosophy of like hyper individualistic, I'm very much about we are all interconnected, and that's very important to recognize. But the interconnection becomes more unhealthy if I don't recognize my own individuality within interconnection, if that makes sense, right? So you kind of need to understand both and sort of tease them apart, but then put them back together again. Right, interdependence. Now, well, the one is like, let's kick things off. Let's have a vision. Let's have a goal. Let's have an intention. Often the association with the one is like, we're thinking of what's the seed we're going to plant. Okay, what's the seed? There's going to be a lot of seeds, right? Many of us will have lots of ideas, and there'll be lots of things we like, oh, I could do this, I could do that, or this seems like a good idea, but I don't know yet. I'm not sure yet. And I want you to recognize that in that space of I don't know yet or I'm not sure yet, that's actually a really great place to be in. It's a great place to be in. You don't need to force yourself to like iron things down, anchor things in yet. You can be curious, you can be open. And, one of the greatest themes, like when I went through all the months that really came through, is this is going to be the year where you need to give yourself permission to mess things up. Okay? This is the year where you need to give yourself permission to experiment, maybe get it right, maybe get it wrong, and be totally fine with it. And when I was going through my prep in this, I'm going to use kid analogies because I'm a mom. So hopefully you guys are on board with this. But it brought to mind the idea of like teaching your kids to eat, right? And when your kids are learning to eat and you give like, I don't know, an 8 or a 9-month-old baby applesauce or banana or avocado or whatever your first foods are, they like smack it and they rub it and they're finger painting with it and they like get it in their hair. Like everyone has those pictures of like the 1-year-old with the spaghetti sauce like everywhere, but in their mouth, right? And it's like, and everyone's like, oh, it's so cute. And oh, they're just learning how to eat and oh, whatever. And it's like, but yet we have to experiment with life, like our business, our finance, our social media, our offers, our marketing. And when we mess it up, nobody's like, oh, you're so cute. Like, how adorable. Like, you got that everywhere. Like, oh, that's so fun. It's like, oh my gosh, like our inner critic is like, you messed up. You did it wrong. Like, how could you? Until you can eat perfectly, you shouldn't eat anything at all. Like, you would never assign that meaning to somebody learning, except for, yeah, we do it to ourselves. But this one is all about letting yourself experiment. And because one is also a very physical number, you're going to feel it out by doing. You have to feel it out, and you can't feel it out by like just thinking about it. Like just thinking about it does nothing, right? So feel it out by trying it, by experimenting with it and seeing, being like, oh, okay, I tried it. How did it feel? It's like again, to the kids, it's like, I always tell my kids, you're not allowed to say you don't like it until you've had it like several times, okay? I think statistically they say 7 times is what it takes to actually know if you're going to like a food or not. Right? So I'm like, well, what if we gave ourselves that same rule of like, I can't tell myself I hate launching. I can't tell myself I hate social media. I can't tell myself I hate, you know, being visible, networking, whatever, until like given it like an actual go, like 7 decent tries. Then I can decide if it's for me or not for me. Because what if the reason I like or don't like something is actually just a conditioned story? It's not based on reality of my experience. It's based on what other people told me or fear of failure. That would be awful. That would be awful. And some of you who've been working with me before in the past, like the analogy, the story I love to give is email marketing. This happened to me a few years back where I used to always say, I hate email marketing. I hate emailing. Like nobody wants to see my emails. I don't have anything that anybody needs to hear. I don't love getting a busy inbox, so why should I email people? I hate emails. And so as long as I carried that story, I would never enjoy email marketing, right? I would never enjoy writing an email to my list. And then one day I'm lying in bed on a Sunday morning and I'm reading an email from one of my favorite like email subscribers at the time, like with this woman who would send an email out every single Sunday. And I was like, it just hit me like a light bulb of like, I love getting this woman's emails. Love it. I lay in bed and I read them and I like anticipate them. I know they're coming on a Sunday and I cannot wait. She would often do a YouTube video that would accompany the email and I would be super stoked about it. And so then I was like, wait a second. If I love getting her emails, surely there's someone that loves getting my emails. Maybe I can be that for someone else. And that changed everything. After that, I like literally would make sure I would send an email on average once a week to my list because it was like I I recognized the connection that was in that I was receiving from this other woman. And if I was receiving that level of connection from someone else, then could I give myself permission to offer that to my people? I was like, yeah, I can do that. Now I love email. I think it's so fun. It's easy, it's fast, it's playful. It's a way to write a love letter to people I care about. It's intimate. It's like people spend way more time reading an email than 3 second scroll and flip on their phones. So like there's something really special in that. And now that I have a lot more reverence around it, I love it. And so the point of this story is if you've said to yourself, I hate financial planning, I hate budgeting, I'm not good at marketing, I'm horrible at public speaking, I suck at selling, I'm not a very good speaker. I'm terrible at looking good on camera. Like whatever your thing is as to why you can't, I'm not good at learning, I'm not good at reading, I can't retain things, I have horrible memory. Whatever your stories are as to why you can't have the thing you can't that you want, just just sit with like, are these factually correct? They might not be. They might not be. They might actually just be like the the bottleneck between you and what you're desiring, right? They might just be the bottleneck. And if you're able to work through it, they actually might create a massive flow of momentum. And so the reason I share that story is with the one, give yourself permission to experiment. Give yourself permission to get it wrong. Give yourself permission to like do it however you do it. Like you don't have to do it well, you don't have to do it perfectly, you just have to try something. Okay? So, but what? What should I try? Well, what is it that you want? Right? What is it that you want? And oftentimes, what I want and what I don't want are two sides to one coin. So, if you struggle to think of this is what I want, ask yourself, what do I not want? And flip it. Okay. So, I want less of this and I want more of that. I want less of this and I want more of that. My relationship with money was horrible and now we're best friends, right? Oftentimes, in my experience, now that I've been a coach for, oh my gosh, 13 years I've been coaching, it's so true. The thing we don't like, it's not that we don't like it. It's that our relationship with it isn't very good. If we improved our relationship with it, we might actually like it. So good. Okay. What are going to be some of the things that we struggle with in 2026? What are going to be some of the things this year that hold us back, that trip us up? So if you find yourself falling into these patterns, I want you to be, first off, loving, kind, and gentle to yourself, you know? Like like I imagine talking to myself like I would if my child did something. Like, "Oh, you dropped your cup and it spilled." Like, "Oh, it's okay. Yeah, like yeah, I can see you're upset, but that's fine. It's okay. Like we'll clean it up. We'll deal with it. We'll move on." Right? So that's first of all, right? Is like, I'm gonna mess it up. But am I gonna beat myself up and shame myself for it? Or am I just gonna be like, everybody messes up sometimes. It's okay. We'll clean it up and we'll move on. We'll try again, right? Let's try again. No big deal. Just the same as we would someone we loved. And this is, I think, is one of the biggest things is recognizing that, what is your relationship with messing up? What is your relationship with not doing it right? What is your relationship with stumbling? Um, you know, what is your relationship with any of that kind of stuff? Because here's the thing about being hard on ourselves for making mistakes. When you're gentle on yourself for trying something and it doesn't go the way you want, the world around you will be gentle on you. When you're critical of yourself and you're negative on yourself, the world around you will just agree with you. Have you noticed that? Like, oh, that was so stupid of me. I should never have done that. I'm so dumb. How could I have thought that way? And then you basically, everyone's just nodding along with you. You're like, you're supposed to argue with me. Right? It's like, no, I have to first say, yeah, like I kind of tripped up there, but no big deal. I'm just figuring this out as I go. And, I'm going to do some more research on it or I'm going to ask for help and I'm going to figure it out like I always do. And the people around you are like, yeah, yeah, you will figure it out like you always do. It's like, okay. So, and then to me, that brings in another point because one of the big elements of this year is relationships. We're going to get into that in a minute. Be aware of who you share these stories with. Not everyone gets to hear the inner workings of your heart and soul. Not everyone gets to hear about your goals and dreams, right? Like be aware of who gets the privilege of your most precious, vulnerable aspects of life. And as strange as it sounds, sometimes it's safer to share with strangers than it is with people who have expectations of you, like family, right? Because they're carrying expectations of you and strangers aren't, right? So just being aware of that. Okay. Overthinking, obsessing and overthinking about something. Let's just treat things a little lightly. Let's just like be a little gentle and soft with ourselves and not like claw hook into things. Being distracted, because there is plenty of opportunities. Being distracted and getting like shiny object syndrome, especially when we get to the tricky part of something new. Because tell me if this has ever happened to you. Like you're like, oh, I'm going to do this thing. It's going to be so great. You're going to like plan it all out, map it all out. And then you go to do it. And then the hard part kicks in where you're like, oh, this is the part where I'm like working for it, but I'm not getting any results yet. I'm not getting any, like, there's no positive feedback loop yet. It's just hard right now. And then it's like, oh, well, that was the wrong idea. Because it's hard, that means it's not for me. Or because it's too tricky, I'm going to try something else instead. And trust yourself in your process, but also don't just give up in the hard. I have a rule with myself that I'm not allowed to change my mind on something on a bad day. I can change my mind all I want on a good day, but on a bad day, like if I'm tired, if I'm sleep deprived, if something's not going well, if I've had a difficult conversation, if an unexpected bill comes in and it's putting me in like not a great mood, having a bad day, can't change my mind on anything on a bad day. That's just my rule. I'll wait till the next day and then I can reevaluate it, right? Yeah, very human to make mistakes. Done is better than perfect is another one of my slogans. Done is better than perfect, right? You will never get to perfect without the experimentation. So just do something and then refine and refine. So the other thing that comes along with the distraction and overthinking is the stories of like, I'm not good enough. or the comparison of like other people have it easier, they can figure it out, they're smarter, whatever the story is. And so I really want you to notice this year, or even in your tendencies, where do I tend to like make kind of like the excuses? Well, she can have that because what? Right? Because she is married, because she isn't married, because she has kids, because she doesn't have kids, because she lives in this town versus not this town, because she had this experience growing up versus I didn't have, whatever. You can literally find arguments on both sides of every single equation, but it's really important to ask yourself, like to notice for yourself when you're like, it's easy for her because of this, or it's easy for him because of that. Recognize that because that is also going to be one of your bottlenecks that's going to keep you at arm's length from the thing you want, right? It might not be as real of a roadblock as you tend to think it is. And I'm not saying like, you know, gaslight yourself into lying to yourself, like be real with yourself. But like what about your circumstance actually is beneficial to you? There's always going to be something about your circumstance that's going to be beneficial to you. That's going to be the reason you succeed. Does that make sense? You guys with me on this? Be real though. Don't fake it and gaslight yourself because then that's just actually going to induce more shame down the road. Don't do that. We get to be real, right? People ask me that all the time of like, well, am I allowed to like acknowledge the hardship? Am I allowed to like vent about it? Am I allowed to complain about it? Absolutely. Vent, complain, and acknowledge all you want. Like that is important, And then it's like, what do I do next? Do I stay in the venting, complaining, or not? That's up to me, right? But stay there. If you need to stay there for a week, stay there for a week. And it's like, okay, and now I'm ready to move on now. Like, again, I'm going to use the kid analogies, but it's like sometimes they just need to have their little fits. And then 2 seconds later, it's like they're throwing their toys, they're yelling and crying. And then a few minutes later, they're like, okay, I'm ready for my snack now. And you're like, all right, off we go. It's like, you can do that too. You can give yourself permission to do that too. Okay. Um, because the 2026, okay, so we've been talking a lot about the one so far, right? So intention, identity, who you are, who you identify like as, giving yourself a chance to experiment, try new things, and have a vision. Have a vision. Your vision doesn't have to be mapped out. It can just be like, I want more peace in my life. I want more freedom in my life. I want more financial abundance in my life. That's good enough. It doesn't have to be like, you don't have to have like a full 10-step plan attached to your vision at this point. You just need to know how you want to feel in general. Because 2026, for those of you who don't know the numerology and how it works, like we literally are adding 2 plus 2 plus 6 equals 10. Okay, that's how we get the 1, right? Because 1 plus 0 is 10. So then we also want to look at the 2 and the 2 and the 6. They also carry a lot of significance. So the 2 is there's 2 of them, so double. It doubles connection, relationship, and intuition. Your intuition is the relationship you have with the universe, with energy, with spirit, whatever you want to, however you conceptualize how your intuition works. And then the people in your life, the people who are there for you versus not there for you in your life, the people who allow you to be your best self, or the people who you feel drained after you spend time with them. And one of the big shifts that's happened from 2017 till now, and there's going to be this, like, we're in this transmutation right now of things shifting going into this next 9-year cycle, is recognizing many of you are like, yeah, I went through a spiritual awakening. Yep, I went through some hardship. Yep, I learned a lot of things. People are at a decision point now of like, okay, what do I do with that? And there are going to be some people who choose to stay like struggling with it. Like they're going to stay on the struggle bus. I don't really know how else to say it. They're going to be um, unconscious to it, unaware of it, not choosing to work with it. And that's okay. Not everyone wants to do something about that. They just want to stay, they want to stay on the struggle bus. Totally fine. Let them, right? Like that's okay. And there's going to be a large group of people who are like, oh, I came here for something and I can feel the fire in my belly over it. I experienced some difficulties, and because of that, I am on fire about solving it, fixing it, helping other people not go there again, helping my own family not go there again, whatever it is. But you're fired up and you have a passion for it, right? And that is, again, it's a choice of like, I'm the kind of person who faces difficult circumstances and I turn this into an opportunity and I make sure my kids will never go through what I had to go through. Or I make sure that I can share with other people what's an opportunity for them and so how they can move forward. Like, or I am going to live my life as an example of what's available and what's possible because I want people to know what's available and what's possible, right? There's lots of ways that you can take kind of the empowered route or the fired up route versus like staying on the struggle bus. And so the point of relationships this year is recognizing energy is contagious. Mindset and belief systems are contagious. So who do I want to surround myself with that will help me maintain the energy I want to maintain? Right? Now, I know we don't always have complete choice in this matter. Like if you have a boss or a colleague or a coworker that exhausts you and drains you, and you can't do anything about it because like you share a cubicle wall with them and that just is what it is, fair enough. That is what it is. But if that's the case, then I want you to be doubling down on what you're doing with the relationships outside of that. Who are your friends? Who are the podcasts you listen to? What are the books you read? What's the dialogue in your mind? Because now you kind of almost have to counteract that negativity in your life if you have it and you can't shift it. Right? Or it's like I have a parent in my life and I don't want to cut them off, but yet I do find that they drain me. It's like, well, I'm not going to cut off my parent. Fair enough. That's a good choice. But like, how do I counteract that? That means that the relationships I'm choosing and cultivating elsewhere better be 10 out of 10s. Do you know what I mean? They better be people who are there for me and I am there for them. And one of the things I think um, it's really important to recognize is capacity, what you have to give and what you have to receive, but also recognizing that you also need to be the friend you want. Like if I want to be receiving friends who inspire me, light me up, and are a positive influence on my life, I need to be the kind of woman who inspires people, lights people up, and creates a positive influence on other people's lives. Like I need to give what I want to get. And if I give what I want to get and I don't get it back, that's when it's like, oh, information, data. Okie dokie, then we're going to make some new choices here, or we're going to, switch up the day we go to the gym, or we're going to change our book club, or like whatever it is. Right. And it's awkward in your midlife to make new friends. Like I agree. But if we all just acknowledge how awkward it is, then we can all be awkward together. Do you know what I mean? One of my best friends in the world, she and I were set up on a blind friend date when she moved to my town after, leaving Vancouver, leaving the coast. And we got set up on a blind friend date for mutual friends. And we were both like, hey, this is kind of weird and awkward. Blind friend date. Let's go and have a cup of coffee together. And we hit it off and we became friends ever since. And it's just become like this joke of our origin story about, yeah, blind friend date, like so silly. But like I've also had people reach out to me on Instagram and be like, do you want to go for a hike? Right. And I'm like, absolutely. Like, let's, like be that person who takes the uncomfortable, even if you're like, this feels really awkward, but you seem fun and I'd like to hang out. Do you want to go for a hike? Like, okay. Right. Because again, this cycle closing and the new cycle opening, knowing that relationships matter and energy is contagious, what are you cultivating? What are you cultivating? And it doesn't have to be like, I have to cut these people out. You can use the concept of like crowding out in your favor. And the concept of crowding out is this idea of like, if I'm uncomfortable having hard conversations or letting go of stuff that's not working for me, I can start to bring in good, right? So like if I spend more time listening to positive podcasts, more time reading inspiring books, when I'm in a course like this, I like reach out and make friends with somebody in the group. If I do things like that, it will start to crowd out some of the like more challenging aspects because I just won't have time anymore. Right. And so it's the same idea of like, if you want to try to eat healthier, instead of like throwing all the potato chips in the garbage, just like eat more salads. And like you'll start to kind of crowd out those habits with the good ones, right? It just, it kind of works that way. Love at a distance. Love at a distance, knowing your boundaries. And and I would also say that in 2026 and for this entire 9-year cycle, learn how to have the hard conversations. Learn how to be uncomfortable, be awkward and be okay with it. Call out the awkwardness. And I think that instantly disarms people. It's like, I need to talk to you about something and I don't know how to do it. And I feel really awkward and uncomfortable, but like, can we talk about this anyways? Right? Like, who's going to say no to that? And if they do, okay, information. Like, let yourself be awkward in it and let that be, I don't know, like charming and disarming. Does that make sense? It's like dropping the shield, letting yourself be vulnerable and real will attract more real and vulnerable people because they like that, because that's them too. And then we get to like take off the I don't know, the armor. We take off the personas. We take off the way we try to appear in a certain light. Try to appear like we have it sorted, like we have it figured. Nobody has it figured. Nobody has it figured. Nobody has it sorted. Nobody knows what they're doing. It's fine. Especially in a 1 energy year. Okay. And then the 6. So the 6 is very much, again, relational based. It's love based. It's harmony based. It's very much about like, how do we harmonize together? How do we support each other, recognizing we each have different strengths? We come together and what we create is greater than the sum of its parts. That we are interdependent, that we need each other, that we know who we are in relation. I know who I am in relation to the people I get to spend time with, right? The dialogue that happens in my own mind is going to be a reflection of the dialogue I'm having with the people around me and vice versa. I'm not an island. I'm not a silo. I'm not independent, right? That's a fallacy. We all require that level of interaction with each other. And when we recognize that and we come together with this sense of like, you bring this, I bring this, as a result, we're all better off for it, is really, really important. And that's going to be a very strong energy coming through this year. The shadow of the 6 is codependence. So the shadow of the 6 is like harmony, but I will ignore or diminish my own needs, truth, or inner voice so I don't make you uncomfortable, right? And that's actually like, it's a habit we all learn, like people pleasing type habits, but it's actually kind of manipulative, right? To not just be straight up of like, actually, this is how I feel. This is what's going on for me. Now that the information's on the table, let's make a decision together. That's actually a lot more of a non-manipulative way to go about it. So, but it's habits that we're breaking, and fair enough, and we can say that. We can be transparent with it. Does anyone have any questions about the 1 and the 2 and the 6 so far? Because the next stage is I'm going to kind of break down a bit more specific dates and details. Is this helpful? You guys with me? Excellent. Are people's wheels turning about what they want to do with this information? Interesting year for marriages, right? Oh, that's so true. It's a lot. It is a lot. And you're definitely welcome to like I'll send out the recording so you can consume it as you need to. You can revisit it, you know, treat it sort of lightly and then dive in again later. I didn't say this at the beginning, but I always encourage you, like, listen with your own intuition, right? So your intuition is going to be telling you things as I'm speaking and picking up on things based on what I'm saying. And some things will land and some things won't. And that's important for you to know. Everybody, like I'm sharing a universal forecast, which is governing everybody, but we also all have our own personal energies that are governing us. Okay, so you can look at your personal numerology chart if that's something you want me to look at with you. Just let me know. I'm happy to do that for you guys. like a year ahead reading. But you can also just bring your intuition on board and just see like what's hitting, what's landing, what's resonating. Yay, your planner got delivered while we were on the call. I'm like, perfect. I haven't picked a planner yet this year, which makes me so sad. So this is my this is my it's like printer pages, which is not really ideal. I always prefer to have like a really beautiful planner, but I do not have one yet this year. So if anyone has any planner recommendations, send them my way. Okay, let's get into the details. Oh, before I go into January, there's a couple pieces. I'm just looking at my notes here that I want to say to kind of iron in a couple pieces. These are like mantras or affirmations or just reminders. So experiment and fail. Like key, experiment and fail. Uh, Number two, you're building from scratch right now with your history, experience, and all the things you already have. So you're not like it's not scratch, but it's a fresh start. Build for alignment with your values and priorities. So, really knowing what matters to me, what's important to me, what are my values, build with alignment to that. Okay. So, keeping that in mind. Uh, there is a lot of, I talked about this a little bit in the beginning about how many people have gone through this spiritual awakening and people are seeing life differently and they're unsure what their authority is, like who they're accountable to or who's making up the rules, right? Like what are the rules? Does anyone know what they are anymore? Like, and there was this belief system that's now shattered that was like, there's rules to society. If I do X, Y, and Z, this will be the outcome. That is no longer true and nobody believes it anymore. There might be a small percentage of people that believe it, but most people are like, I don't think that's true anymore. So, what is true? If the rules of society have kind of gotten mucked up, what is true? Nobody knows. So, like, just as we were talking about earlier of like pick your identity and define it yourself, like pick your set of rules because like nobody else knows either. So if we don't know, just make something up and go with it, right? Um, give your so this is the crystallization of that is give yourself permission to make up new rules. Okay. If the old rule was you do X, Y, and Z, and then this is what happened, the new rule is I don't need all that. I can focus on this and I get this, right? Like let yourself change the rules. Be scrappy. So experiment, be scrappy, bring in trickster energy, be curious again, because there is no rules anymore, right? So it kind of makes me think of like when you think of apprenticeship programs. Any young apprentice needs to follow under someone who's been doing their trade or their craft for many, many years, and they need to learn how it's done. But if you leave an apprentice to their own devices to figure it out, they might actually find shortcuts that experienced people didn't know about because they were so locked into tradition and this is how we do things. So like let yourself be that this time. Let yourself be the like curious, like, oh wow, like I don't know, let me just try it and see what happens. Oh, whoops, I didn't know I could do that. Oh wow, look at this, right? And like just play it off like we're just figuring it out, right? There is no rules, so just go with it. Um your intuition and your gut instinct is going to be stronger than it's ever been. So dialing that in even more. And that is definitely the influence of the double twos and the sixes, the combination of those. But there's also some monthly influences that make that very important. So if you feel a way about something, there's a reason for that. Don't don't be like, oh, I shouldn't feel that way. No, no. There's a reason for that. You don't maybe know with your logical brain why you feel that way, but like trust your gut, trust your intuition. And that you do need to build structures for freedom. And I do find a lot of people resist the concept of building structures for freedom because that feels anti-freedom. Too many structures. Feel like a cage sometimes. But you do need to build structures for freedom. You just need to build structures that don't feel like jail, right? And maybe that's a new way of doing structures different from what we've done them in the past because, like I said, there's new rules now, but you do need structures for freedom and structures that allow flexibility and pivot is what I would say, right? Like structures that allow um, movement. Aligned for sure. Okay. Going into January, we start off January with a 2 energy month. Again, this is another reason why your intuition is going to be very strong this entire year, and the relationships are really, really going to matter. And I want you to really ask yourself throughout January, who's in my corner? Who has my back? Whose back do I have? Who is my person? Who are my people? And how am I building my resources? Resources can be like material, like financial resources, but resources can also be like inner resources, whether it's your own resilience, your own capacity, something you're learning, like you've studied something or you've trained with something. But building resources is key. So thinking about how do I want to feel? And if anything you want to feel is like freedom, peace, love, harmony, balance, like one of the number one resources to give yourself is the tool of working with your own nervous system so that your capacity to ebb and flow through the ups and the downs is flexible. You don't always want to just be happy. You want to be able to like feel the anger, then feel the happiness, then feel the rage, then feel the peace. That like your nervous system needs to be able to move up and down. If it can't move up and down and you get stuck somewhere, that's where it's like that's a low capacity and that's like a lack of internal resourcing. So like reach out and get help with that because that's something that you can shift with practices, right? And if you're like, I never get mad, it's like, okay, I don't really believe you. There's a lot of things to be mad about, but being stuck in anger, that's a problem, right? Or being stuck in apathy or being stuck in whatever, okay? So giving yourself the ability to feel resourced, particularly on the 3rd of January, there's going to be a lot of messages coming through about being experimental. And when I say being experimental, like this is Jack energy. This is like the apprentice who's figuring things out as they go. And they might be a little sneaky and a little tricky, but they're not actually breaking any real rules. They might be breaking some like made up rules. Do you know what I mean? Let yourself be tricky. And it's going to be an important time to be accessing a greater level of freedom. So if there's a story playing out of like all these things need to be happening before I can get to this outcome, I don't think that's true, right? And let yourself get really curious about what that could look like. And then as we start to move into the middle of January, it's going to be very much on our minds as what's valuable to us, what's important to us, what's our priorities, and how do I honor that in what I'm doing? How do I honor my values and my priorities in what I'm doing? There's also going to be a strong sense of intuitive knowing, particularly near the end of the month, where there's going to be a belief system that you've held for some time that's going to start to fade away or crumble away. And you're going to have like an insight that pops through because of that. So that's January. And then and if you guys have any questions as I'm going along, just pop them in the chat. I'm not going to just keep asking any questions. I'm just going to keep going with this because I've got about half an hour to get through 12 months. And in years past, I'm not always like aware of the time. I'm just like, I'll just talk until I'm done. And some of you know in years past, I've taken like 3 hours to give the whole year forecast. We're not going to do that this year. Mostly because my daughter is in her school play and I need to be watching. So I'm going to keep myself focused with you guys. I know I do love a 4-hour forecast. I'm with you. I'm with you. But there is opportunities because we can do the universal and you can get a one-on-one forecast. And I also have a 2026 planning session coming up, which is going to be a planning session for the year ahead. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. But yeah. We could hang out for hours. But I do this every month too. So those of you who are new with me, I do this every month and you can listen to them on my podcast or join me live or whatever. So yeah. Okay, February. February is a 3 energy month. Very strong manifestation energy, and it's very important to be creative. Okay. So, creative expression, saying what's in you to be said. If you are feeling anxious or overwhelmed or, you know, thought looping happening, that is stuck creative energy that needs out, right? It needs to like go somewhere and do something. So if you find yourself overthinking or feeling anxiety, I want that to be your yellow flag of like, hold on a second. There's creative life force energy in my body that's stuck. I need to move it out. I need to write. I need to move. I need to dance. I need to have a difficult conversation. I need to tell somebody how I feel. I have a message to share. Something, right? Ask yourself what those questions are. You might find yourself busier than you might want to be in February, but recognizing like this is just a cycle, it doesn't last forever. Like, certainly you can practice saying no, or you can just like roll with it and recognize it'll be a little busier in one month and then it will ebb out again in the next month. Um, but it's a very fiery energy. So if you're a person who likes to create things or who likes to be inspired and you're like, marketing, speaking, doing pitches and proposals, sharing an offer, being active on social media, doing a presentation for someone, whatever, it's a great month to capitalize on that energy. So it's a great month to be like asking for a raise, asking for a promotion, applying for a new job, um, pursuing a new client, any of that kind of stuff. Planning to relaunch my podcast in February. That's perfect timing. I love it. So then again, we kick off the energy with the Jack energy again, being like, be curious, be playful. The rules may not apply. Let yourself figure it out by trying it out. Okay. And then near the middle of the month, there's this really strong energy of synergy with other people, and that business ideas, financial ideas, growing your wealth, creating a new way of receiving money is going to come through synergy of collaboration. So going to networking events, reaching out to people, having conversations, getting to know people, there's opportunities to collaborate, particularly, in the few days around the 17th of the month, that can expand your financial opportunities quite dramatically. Particularly, you will have some strong clarity about what your next steps are going to be around the 24th and what you need to shake up in your life in order to get that outcome. Because it's like anytime you take on a new project or a new idea, you have to recognize, what am I giving up? There's always an opportunity cost to everything, right? If I'm going to say yes to this thing, I'm saying no to something. And the no might be like I'm saying no to like watching my favorite show on Netflix, or I'm saying no to sleeping in on the weekend because I'm going to actually get up and do this project. But you're saying no to something, right? Or if your life already feels really full, then you're going to have to ask yourself, like, what am I dialing back on for a minute while I move this particular project forward? Because the next step will be really clear around the 24th. And structure is kicking in around the 28th. So you really want to let the first couple of weeks of February um, be the window of time where you're like pulling all those pieces of that idea together as much as you can. Okay, then yes, the year of the fire horse, right? It does feel so aligned. It's always interesting to me. I'm not an astrologist, but I'll listen to, other intuitives and people that do use different modalities. And it always blows my mind how completely different modalities will often share very similar messaging. And I always think of it as, my friend Kasha explained it this way. It's like the energy is the energy that it is. You can't see it, but you have ways of interpreting it. And some people interpret it with one lens and some people interpret it with another lens. And it's no different than if you're looking for driving directions somewhere. Some people like Google Maps, some people like Apple Maps, some people like a paper atlas. You know what I mean? It's like you do what you need to do to interpret the energy for you. You pick up whatever style of modality allows it to make sense to you, right? Or pick them all, right? If you're like me, you're like, well, I have like a handful of people that I trust, and that's kind of who I would listen to in terms of like what's coming up or what's coming my way. As we go into March, March is where, when I mentioned earlier, structures for freedom, this is very, very important. There is going to be, you need to have grounded structures in place, but they need to be flexible because there's going to be a lot of shifts and pivots happening in March. There's going to be a lot of intuitive knowing and intuitive downloads happening. So you need things that hold you and support you, but not that lock you in, right? That lock you in. You need to be able to be flexible and you need to pivot. So you're giving yourself permission of like, I have this routine and I always do things this way and this is my system. But yet when this comes up, this is how I tweak it, but I still keep it values aligned, right? So it's like if my value is I want to make sure I get outside every single day, if I skip my morning walk because I take a meeting, well, then I'm going to have to figure out a way to honor that structure by putting it somewhere else in my day because that's a core value, right? Yes, totally. And the different astrology, the different human designs, like they're all different, but yeah, it can give you so much information. I love it. Okay, so on the third in particular, very important day to take a risk, to have an intuitive knowing or gut feeling about something, and to take a leap of faith, to do something like build the plane as you fly it, to do it before you're ready, to just figure it out as you go, right? Very, very strong day for that. And then on the middle of the month, around the 18th of the month, it's going to be asking you, like, what are the changes I need to make, the tweaks I need to make? Because anytime you build something on the fly, it's arguably, even if you didn't build it on the fly, arguably, if all your blueprints were perfectly in place, you'd still make tweaks when it was done, right? So if you're still going to make changes when it's done, like build it on the fly and save yourself the extra time. I know I've spoken like a seven, right? That's only something a seven would say, but that energy is very strong. Figure it out as you go, just do it, and then make the tweaks you need to make after. Because then you'll know, you'll be like, oh, this was wobbly. This didn't work for me. So now I'm going to switch it up. Now I'm going to change it. Okay. Yeah, it was very seven. I am a seven. So I'm always going to have a lean towards figure things out as you go, take a leap of faith, trust your intuition. But I'm like, that's what makes me a good, numerologist, intuitive business coach. That's what makes all that work. It's like you figure out your patterns, you figure out your gifts, and then you work with them. Uh, More experimentation towards the end of March, and particularly experimentation with someone who you trust. So listening to the guidance and the advice and the insight from someone you trust and letting yourself experiment from there. And knowing that insights will start to shift near the end of the month. So if you're kind of doing this like, oh, I feel a little bit like I'm flying blind, by the 31st of the month, more and more like clarity, mental clarity will start to kick in. Like you're like, oh, okay, I kind of get what's happening here. Okay. And this is starting to make sense. Because like the leap energy is like a felt sense energy. Whereas the like this makes sense is a knowing, like a mental energy, right? So there's different kinds of energy that are going to come in at different points in time. Okay, April is shake things up. April is freedom, change, travel, explore, and we kick things off with leap of faith, take a risk, try something new that's part of your destiny and purpose. So I feel like April is be connected to your intuition, be connected to your gut, shake things up, change things up again. Um, don't need things to be just so, right? Like the perfectionist tendencies will be such a sabotage this year. But as you try and experiment in the first little bit of April, again in the middle of April around the 17th, it's like, okay, I've tried and experimented. This is working for me. How do I create a structure around it now? so that it's not, because here's the thing with structures in my mind. When you have a structure in place, it takes away the mental load. When there's no structure in place, you have to think about it. And you only have so much brain glucose per day. Did you guys know that? Your brain uses glucose. You get a certain number of hours of it per day, depending on how hard and deep in thought you are. And you get something like, I don't know, it's like 3 to 4 hours of like high functioning brain glucose per day. So don't use it on stuff that you can systemize and like simplify that for your own mental sanity. Like, right? So once you've experimented and tried something and you're like, oh, okay, this, I like this. This is working for me. Create a loose structure so that it takes it off of your mental bandwidth, particularly on the 17th of the month. And then continuing to go forward, just let your structures be fluid, but have structures, have fluid structures, right? Yeah. I burn that fast. It makes sense. Yeah, it does, right? And there's hacks around, you know, how to help your brain glucose last longer, but you you get like 4 good hours a day of your brain. Everything else is more stuff that you do on like autopilot, right? Which is great. That's why we have that function. Okay. Okay, May. Let's go into May. May is very much um yeah. Sorry, I was just looking at something else really quickly here. But May is very much about harmony, love, family, and soul purpose. Soul agreements and soul contracts will play a role in the month of May. So when I say soul contract or soul agreement, what do I mean? What I mean is like, I have this idea, and obviously it's rooted through my belief systems with numerology, that before we're born, we make some decisions at the soul level of like, I want to have this experience in life. So I'm going to put myself here and put myself there and introduce myself to so and so and meet so and so. And they're going to give me these particular experiences so that I can have that, right? Whether it's a lesson, an experience, a moment, whatever. So that's a soul agreement. But you don't like, it's not happening to you. You can, you still have free will. You still get to make changes and, interact differently and whatever. But when soul agreements come in, it's very important in my mind when you're noticing these things not to stick to trip into avoidance, right? Or like checking out or like emotionally numbing yourself of like, I can't deal with this. It's too stressful. I'm just gonna like ignore it and watch movies, whatever, right? It's like, okay, this is coming up for a reason. I might not be enjoying it, but like, why is it coming up and what do I want to do about it? Am I being asked to have a conversation? Am I being asked to have a boundary? Am I being asked to speak my truth? Am I being asked to make a change in my life? Ask yourself, right? And the more you can face the challenge like head on, the less drawn out it has to be, because like it's not just going to go away because we ignore it as much as we wish it would, right? So yeah. And oftentimes we need time, and so if we need time, then just give yourself time, but give yourself like containers. Like, I'm going to take the weekend to emotionally check out, and then by Monday I'm going to check back into things and make a decision. There, fair enough, right? Give yourself both. That's totally fine. So uh, particularly at the beginning of the month, the first like, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but I need you to understand the reason I'm repeating myself is because these patterns keep cycling back around. They keep cycling. They're patterns, they're spiral patterns. So even though I'm saying the same thing a few times, it's like it's going to happen. You're going to do something with it, and then something's going to play out, and then it's going to happen again, maybe a little differently. You're going to do something with it, and then it's going to cycle through again. So there's so much change that wants to come in this year because we are changing the rules. So if we're changing the rules, we need to experience change to see how we're doing this. And the people who make the decision as to what it means and what they're going to make it mean, they're the ones that are kind of anchoring in these new rules. And every time you create a rule for yourself, a new rule, a decision, a belief system, a thought pattern, and you're like, yep, that's true. Yep, I'm going to do that. Yes, that's for me. And you follow that route over and over and over again, it becomes a well-worn path. Like you can think of this in terms of like how your neural networks develop. If you think a thought over and over and over again, there's neural connections that get created, and the thought becomes easier to think over and over again. If you're hiking in the forest and there's no trail, but you hike the same trail over and over and over again, or the deer hike the same trail over and over and over again, it becomes a well-worn path that anybody can walk. The same is true for the rules that we're following right now. Okay? The rules that we're following are only there because so many people followed them for so freaking long that they became a well-worn path. But if we're changing things up, shaking things up, and the old rules don't apply anymore, like make the rules now. Decide. Like figure out. I know I sound flippant in it, but it's like, what if it could be lighter than we make it out to be? Do you know what I mean? What if it could be lighter than we make it out to be? Because everyone's going to be going through this. It's universal. Okay. So, starting at the beginning of May, lead with your gut intuition and lead with change, right? We're making changes, we're shifting things, we're switching things up. Then again, middle of the month, particularly around the 16th, let yourself put in structures that support you so that you can take the mental bandwidth off. So find something that works and then find a way to kind of systemize it or whatever, particularly when it comes to financial discipline. There's opportunities that are going to arise in the middle of the month that require like expansion of finances requires discipline. So maybe it's like financial planning or budgeting, or maybe it's like working with a financial expert, or maybe it's like going through your projections carefully. I don't know. You'll know. But there's a financial opportunity that will arise that requires you to be disciplined. And about a week after that, near like the 20th or so of May, there's going to be this strong energy of redefining relationships and support. So if you're feeling like something's off, take the time near the end of May to have those conversations or to redefine what that looks like to you. May is also a blue moon, which I think really strengthens the energy of fate, destiny, purpose, why we're here, and us having a better understanding, that like a better grasp of that. So there's a full moon on the first day of May and a full moon on the last day of May, that's where the concept of a blue moon comes from. And it's rare. It only happens every, 2 to 3 years. And these two moons, because of the way they land, one lands on instigating change and the other lands on a new beginning. So you guys see how I'm starting to pick up these stories of like instigating change, new beginnings, write a new rule. Nobody knows what they're doing. We're making this shit up anyways. Like, can you see how it's starting to kind of like make sense? You guys with me on that? Yeah. Okay. That's May. Um, June. Again, a very strong intuitive month. Taking risks, taking a leap of faith, trying new things, particularly around the middle of the month, around the 14th of the month. There is going to be a lot of new opportunities that want to come in, and it's going to be a very strong manifestation energy. So, great time to do manifestation practices or intention setting, particularly around finance, but values aligned finance, things that actually is like meaningful to you. And whatever goals, new intentions, new opportunities come in around the 14th of the month around money, make sure you take an action step on them on the 21st, because that kicks off a new cycle. Okay. So take an action step on June 21st around it. There is a lot of death rebirth energy happening in June. So it kind of feels to me with this death and rebirth energy that a lot of the things we've been experimenting with up until June of like trying this, I don't know, maybe it's working, maybe it's not, I have no idea. We're starting to get a clearer picture come June, right? It's like this death rebirth of like, oh, okay, I can see now where these rules don't apply and these rules do apply. I can see where I'm going to let this go now because I can see it's not really doing what it's supposed to, but I can see where what is being reborn now. Like it's almost like the seeds are starting to germinate, right? And you're like, I can't tell if it's like squash or zucchini or cucumber, but like there's something there and I can see it's like in the squash family, right? It's like little peaks of information creeping in. July is going to be about devotion. So whenever we're faced with lessons around devotion and commitment, it we're faced with them through a challenge of it, right? Like what are you actually devoted and committed to? You'll find out when it's tested. Do you know what I mean? That's where it's like, don't quit, don't give up. You're so close, like the whole 3 feet from gold thing, right? So decide what you're committed to that's values aligned. If it's not values aligned, you won't be committed to it. So that's fine. Like you're allowed to change your commitments, but also like pick what you are committed to and recognize, like I always think of this in terms of the law of compensation. So the energy I put into things is also the energy I get out of things, whether it's my business, my relationships, my health, whatever, right? We always break it down to like money, health, and love, right? Those are the only three things that we ever seem to care about. So it's like whatever I'm putting into what my most important one is right now, that's what I'm going to get out of it. And your most important one is probably the one where you're like, it's not where I want it to be, right? I would like improvement in that area. That's great. Put energy into it. Do not give up in July. Pivot if you have to, shake things up if you have to, make a change if you have to, but don't give up. Um, Making sure that you like your systems on the 14th, that your habits or your practices or that your systems, you like them. Like these are nice. Like I enjoy this, right? Oftentimes when we're adopting a new structure, when we are learning it, when we are adopting it, we don't like it, right? It's not fun when things are really hard unless you're one of those people who likes doing really hard things all the time. But for most people, when stuff's hard, it's not fun. It gets fun when it gets to become easier, right? So don't quit just because something's hard. Be like, am I at the stage yet where it should be easy? Or do I just need to give it a little bit more time and then I can assess, right? Then I can assess if I like it. Uh, there's going to be a strong relational opportunity at the end of July, like whether it's romantic love, friendship love, there's some kind of like soulmate love feeling coming in, but it doesn't have to be, it could even be like a great business colleague or great business mentor or, but something where you're like, like I feel this heart connection here. I feel like there's like, we're meant to connect. There's something that needs to come out of this that is going to benefit us both. And that is around the end of July. Okay, as we go into August, are you guys with me? Have I lost anyone? We're all still here for the most part. I'm impressed. We're like an hour and 20 minutes in. Most of you still here, still going strong, scribbling away. Yes, excellent. Okay, August. Starting to wrap up the last bit of the year. August is peak energy. Um, sorry, what am I saying? August is not. Hold on, give me a second. September's peak energy. August is not. August is very much about a reset, clearing out point. So, in terms of actions to take in August or things to keep in mind in August, it's like, what am I closing out? What am I resetting? It's a great time to do any like clearing and cleansing rituals, whether it's like cleaning out your files, cleaning out your photo roll, camera roll on your phone, um, releasing old contracts where you're like, I don't really want to do this contract anymore. I need to like clean out my closet, whatever. Okay. Reset, release, create openings. Okay. Creating openings in August. So do the work to create the openings in August. Um, Around the 12th of August, there's going to be a massive magnetic opportunity to attract value to you. So attracting value to you could be attracting a financial resource to you, but it can also be attracting something valuable, whether it's a valuable connection, a valuable skill, whatever, right? So on the 12th of the month, that's that. And then, okay, attracting something valuable to you. And then near the end of the month, there feels like there's like this. I wrote down relationship reckoning, but it's like something is coming to head relationally. Something that might have been like on simmer for a little while is going to boil over. And I'm not putting that as a negative or a positive connotation. I don't know. It might be a positive, right? It might be boiling over into more truth telling, or it might be boiling over into, oh, wow, I'm very clear that this doesn't work for me anymore. Again, I can't see if it's professional, personal, family, non-family, like we don't know. But we do know that there's an opportunity arising where something that's just been simmering under the surface is going to become very apparent that it needs to be redefined and clarity is going to be had. And you'll know what to do, right? You'll know what to do. Uh, if you're unsure what to do, ask yourself, how do I devote myself to my values and my priorities right now? That will tell you what to do, right? Because after the relationship reckoning is this sense of like, how do I be committed to what's on my heart, right? So what is most meaningful to me? How do I be committed to that? September is peak energy. So once September hits, this is when the strongest energy of the one is very loud. Okay? So very loud that we will have purpose clarity, very loud that we will be very aware of who are the people who are meant to walk with us on this aspect of our journey, and like who is going to be a helping energy and who is going to create like synergy for me. Um very clear. And again, there's still that experimentation energy with building structures that support flexibility. Very strong. And then after September hits, we actually start to lean into previews of 2027. That sounds so wild to say. Like I can't wrap my mind around that. But October energy is a preview to 2027. So it's already going to start to show us what is to come, and it's going to start to kind of creep that energy in. And October is very much about resources, whether it's individuals, other people, or financial resources, assets, skills. Like you can have like internal resources and external resources. So October will be when that starts to become clear as to what you have versus don't have, what you want versus don't want, that kind of thing. And again, you just want to keep in mind of like, well, what is my vision here? What's my idea? What's my plan? What's my goal? What do I want? What's my intention? And then are the resources that I'm gathering along the way in support of that vision or not? Are they helping me get closer to it, or are they a distraction? And, I mean, it sounds so easy, right? Like easy peasy. That's no big deal. Hopefully, you'll be able to listen to this in October next year and you'll be like, right, I know exactly what to do. And that is kind of, I do recommend that if you pop in your calendar notes, like if you use a Google Calendar or set reminders in your phone, like set a reminder like once a quarter or once every few months to come back and listen and just see how it's clicking for you, because yeah, you'll hear things differently once the year starts to unfold. November is amplification and expansion energy. And December is going to be very much about what are the systems that are going to support you feeling resourced and supported in 2027. So that is the the year in a nutshell in terms of what the numerology would tell us about it. Um, I'd love to hear in the chat if you guys want to share what are the pieces where you're like, okay, that's ringing true for me. I'm feeling some resonance with that. And while you guys are thinking about that, I'm wondering if you're open to me sharing. I have a year ahead business planning session coming up in January. Are you guys open to hearing a little bit more about that? So, okay, I'm going to share that with you then if you're interested. Um, the year ahead business planning, I think it's on the 14th of January. It's one of the, you should know the date, right? January 12th. It's the 12th. It's one of the Mondays in January, and it's 4.5 hours together. And now that you kind of have the like energetic set point of what's happening, the goal of this planning session is that we take that and turn that into like a business plan and business goals for you. So there's a few things we're going to look at is what is your constraint right now? What is the thing that's blocking your business from growing? And there's a few different tools I have to help you figure out what that is. But there's going to be three areas we really break into. So, like, the first area is how do my clients find me? Right? Which is kind of like your marketing area. Like, how am I known? How am I found? How do people even know what I have to sell? Number two is how you convert clients. So, how do they go from like, oh, I'm aware that you exist to like, oh, I want to work with you or I want to buy something from you. And then number three is how do you actually make money? So now that we kind of have the gist of the energy, we can start to put our business plan, our marketing plan, our actions, our goals business wise into that. And that's going to be the point of the planning session. We're going to really get clear on what are the areas we need to expand and improve. And then we're actually going to map it out, you guys, on calendars with sticky notes, which is my favorite thing because I follow the quarterly planning model where each quarter has a focus and each month has a theme. So, according to the energy that we're dealing with, your business goals and where your constraints are in hitting those goals, we will set a calendar plan for you where each month is going to have a theme and a focus. Each quarter is going to have an outcome you're working towards. And we'll put that all together in 4 hours on January 12th. Doesn't that sound so fun? I'll pop it in the chat so you guys can take a look at it if you want. The workshop itself is $150, but I do have 50% discount codes for you guys that are valid up until Christmas. So if you do want to register in the next, week or so, few days, and like how many days away is Christmas? This coupon code will give you a 50% discount, so you'll get it for $75. And I am using Canadian pricing, which means if you're used to paying in US pricing, this is like a 30% discount for you. So it's actually it's basically free if you're paying in US dollars. Okay, I'm going to look at some of your notes. If you have any comments or questions about that, you can always reach out to me about the workshop. You can post in the chat. You can let me know. But I'm going to read through some of your comments about it. Yes, it's a total reset year. Absolutely. I'm excited for this. I just need to sign up. Yes. And now you get to sign up, Leanne, with a discount code. There is a definite unifying theme in 2026, definite unifying. And when you think of one, it is a unifying number, right? It's like, what are we gathering under? What are we coming together with? And you can think of numbers and visuals, right? So like when you think of one, what do you think of? Like what's coming to mind as I'm even asking you this question is this idea of somebody talking in the middle of a town square and everyone coming together. It's like this, like you want to be seen, you want to be heard, you want to gather momentum and energy. It's like you just need to like stake your claim, which is like your value, what you believe in, what's important to you, right? Yes, you need to book a reading with me. I do offer private one-on-one readings. So when I send the replay out, I will share a booking link with you on that. If you're like, I just want a personal reading on myself. I'm most excited for summertime. Yes. Yeah, I know, right? That's when the clarity kicks in a bit more. This year's been a lot. So big and so good and chaotic. Yeah. Nine energy, 2025 was nine. And nine can be very challenging for a lot of people because it's very much about surrender, release, let go, transmute. It's very much the caterpillar going into the cocoon. So it's not comfortable and it requires the art of non-attachment. And as humans, we suck at non-attachment, and that's okay, right? It's okay. But the one is the fresh start, the new beginning. And that's like the butterfly trying to figure out if it can use its wings, right? That's kind of the analogy of what we're going through. It's a big transition year. So prioritizing devotion and structures for my vision, playful, curious to unlock creativity. I love that, Shelley. Building structures that can be flexible and making choices that stay aligned with my values. Yes. Too cheap, Megan. Thank you, Leah. I appreciate that. I wanted to make it a no-brainer. And I also wanted to thank you guys for spending my favorite ritual with me. So yeah, absolutely. My question for next year, what am I honoring? What are my priorities? Absolutely. Okay, I can stay on for like 5 more minutes. If anybody wants to unmute, ask a question, chit chat at all, I hope I get to hang out with you guys again, whether it's in the year ahead planning workshop or whether you're going to book a private reading with me, either one. But yeah, feel free to unmute if you have any question or a specific date you want me to look at. Thanks so much, Antonin. I'm so glad you were able to come. Yeah, and some of you guys already got personal readings with me recently, so which is awesome. Thanks, Ken. I appreciate you being here. Thanks, Debs. Thank you, Shelly. Yay! You just signed up for the retreat. For any local people, I also have an in-person version of this. Okay, I have a Kelowna version of this that we're doing in over 2 days in Kelowna. So if you're in Kelowna or you want to travel to Kelowna, um, I have an in-person version that's going to be so fun. If you want to sit on the floor with the post-it notes together and, with the Sharpies and yeah, a little more mastermindy style for in-person. But yeah, good. I'm so glad, Felicia. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Okay, well, stay tuned in your emails. I know emails are kind of all over the map these days with whether they get delivered or not. So if you like my emails, please make sure you mark me not spam and interact with me once in a while so that your system knows I'm meant to be there. And I will enjoy my daughter's play. Thanks, everyone. And I look forward to seeing you again soon, whether it's on socials, in email, wherever. Okay, mwah. Bye, everyone.